You're listening to a Brawl Network production. This is a podcast for the best fans in the NFL.
Are you in the Mafia?
Am I in the what?
It's time for a Bills Brawl podcast.
Second down and 7. Kelly with the time. Touchdown! Bill Brooks.
Allen. Deep shot. Touchdown! On the line to Stephon Diggs.
And Thurman breaking tackles at the 22. Inside the 10. Touchdown Buffalo.
Indeed, another episode of the Bills Brawl, all a part of the Brawl Network. Get us on Twitter, at Bills Brawl, at Network Brawl, and my handle as well, at Mike L Sports. This episode for Bills Mafia, it's going to be my full breakdown of the 2021 schedule and some other news and notes in and around the team. Had Mike Catalana on last week, a terrific Rochester Buffalo Bills TV man, longtime insider and reporter. Covering the Bills to talk about the schedule. I've given a few thoughts here and there, but really wanted to dive in, to the schedule in full, kind of give my overall thoughts here. And I think when you look at the schedule right out of the chute, it's easier than last year's. It's not easy week to week, right? But it is certainly easier than last year's. I don't think there's any doubt about that. The Bills quickly get through a few preseason games. They're at Detroit, at Chicago, and then Green Bay at home. And then we have a situation where I think it's quite possibly, the most perfect home opener that you could imagine. I mean, Pittsburgh is a team that the Bills, I think the cities are incredibly close, not just in geography, but as far as fan bases, that blue-collar feel. The difference, of course, is Pittsburgh's won a ton more titles. But Pittsburgh's looking to come back a little bit here, this year. That's a tough division. How much gas is left in the Ben Roethlisberger tank? There will be a lot of Steeler fans in the building from the Steel City and everywhere. I mean, Pittsburgh, the Steelers are a national brand. They're a huge franchise in this league, and it's just a few hours away from Buffalo. I cannot imagine that opening game with the fans being back, how loud it is going to be. Bills Mafia back, coming off of last year's great season, one win away from the Super Bowl. I think this is going to be just a terrific, terrific game, and I think it's a perfect home opener. There was a lot of chatter for the Bills, open up on Thursday night, kick off the year with the Bucs and all this other stuff. And listen, I know a lot of you people out there are big primetime fans. I like to see the Bills once in a while on Thursday Night Football, on Sunday Night Football, on Monday Night Football, on, a Saturday primetime game when the games are it's late in the year, a 4:25 or a night game on a Saturday. Yeah, sometimes I do because I like the national exposure. I like when they talk about Buffalo. I like, highlighting, and especially when you're good, you're highlighting a pretty good team with a pretty darn good quarterback and a team that is hoping to, stick around for a while. But I don't prefer it. I don't prefer primetime for a couple of reasons. One, I want the team to do really, really well. And I think being at home all the time at 1 o'clock, or even when you're on the road at 1 o'clock, Sunday 1 or Sunday at 4, you play on Thanksgiving again this year. I'll get to that game in a minute against New Orleans. But, when the Bills played against Dallas, that was a 4:25 game. They got done with the game. They were back in Buffalo by, 11 o'clock midnight that night, right? So there's a lot of primetime opportunities that don't allow for that to happen. Plus, when you play on a Thursday, you automatically get those, you get Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and they don't play again, until the lap around, until that following Sunday in most cases. So, those are doable. But for the most part, I'm a bigger fan of the 1 o'clock games on Sunday because I want the team to do well, and coaches, players, etc., they like, they're creatures of habit. A lot of the players do like the prime time because they want to showcase, they want to show off. Guys like Allen and Diggs, I'm sure, love the prime time. Many guys are just like, hey, we'll play anytime, anywhere, whatever. We're getting after it and working as hard during a non-prime time week, as we are a prime time week type of a thing. So some of it, some of the players, it just doesn't matter. And then for selfish reasons, for me, 1 o'clock games with the way life is now with a little one, it's perfect, because usually my little one, as I record this, just hit 17 months yesterday, and she's back into a good solid napping pattern, but just one nap a day. You close the gap a little bit. You go from 2 to 1, and the nap now comes in and around 12:30, 1 o'clock type of a thing. So she sleeps all the way until halftime or beyond. That 2:30, 3:30 window. She gets up. We get her going. It's in the fourth quarter. I usually got the bottle, feeding her. The game is coming to a close. She's up and ready and playing, and then the Bills are done at 4:15. And then I just buckle up for the day personally and professionally. I do some videos, and that's another thing. Working in the media, 1 o'clock games are perfect because you can do all of your post stuff. I don't care what you do these days. I don't care if you're doing 3-4 podcasts a week. I don't care if you're a part of a network. I don't care if you're on TV. I don't care if you're a writer. I don't care if you're all of that stuff. If you're a radio host, whatever the case may be, post-game host. Don't you like doing a lot of post-game work between like 4:25 and 4:30 and like 8 o'clock at night instead of doing it at like 3 in the morning? And for me, like, I don't necessarily do a lot of post-game stuff because it is so late. I'll wait and I'll do, some videos or whatever. I'll do some pregame, I'll do some halftime, and then I'll do the post stuff, maybe the next morning when I get a little bit more time and it's, a lot, a lot easier to make noise, so to speak, recording videos. But, I think the 1 o'clock, Sunday game, it's just a perfect spot. Really, in every way possible. I think the team, they're creatures of habit. From a selfish standpoint, both personally and professionally, I like them better at 1 o'clock. And I do know that a lot of the people who cover the Bills, on the beat and side beats and all the rest, from Joe Biscaglia and Matt Fairburn and Perino and Ryan Talbot, all these guys do such an amazing job. One thing that does stink is when the Bills play at 1 o'clock, you're missing all the other NFL action for the most part until probably Sunday Night Football. You get around maybe like at halftime of that game to maybe check some highlights, read some storylines, maybe read some out-of-market stuff for next week. What happened in what game, the Bills' next opponent, did they play, did they win, did they lose, how'd they fare, any injury? I mean, there's so much that goes into covering the NFL and beat guys. I could see there being some frustration with 1 o'clock games, where if the Bills played Sunday Night Football, you're watching football all day leading up to that game. Kids are in bed, you can watch it, and then you can do your work post, but then 3 o'clock rolls around, you're still working 2, 3 in the morning, and then you got to get up probably at 6:37, your kid's getting up. So I could see one thing working. It's a give and take, right? One thing works out and then the other thing doesn't, right? Like, you can't watch all the football if you're a Bills beat person, if the game's at 1 o'clock on Sunday. But when they're on late or they're on a Monday Night Football game, you could see all the Sunday games, you could focus in, you could buckle up. By the same token, you're working late, throws off the schedule a little bit during the week. So, everybody has their own thing. I think this schedule, though, is a really nice blend. I do. After week 1, the Bills go at Miami. That's going to be a really tough game. I think the Dolphins and Jets and the Pats are all going to be significantly better in this division. So that'll be a tough one. Then they have 2 more 1 o'clock games, and they're both at home. That's Washington football team at home and Houston at home. Now, Washington's defense, led by Chase Young and company, and they're very, very well coached in Ron Rivera, they're really good. Ryan Fitzpatrick at the helm now at quarterback. Again, I think that's just a Band-Aid for this football team. They've got to, at some point, and trust me, all of us as Bills fans know how hard it is, to find that quarterback, in terms of the franchise label. But they really need to go find one. They do. They have to. This should still be a win at home. The Bills starting out, Pittsburgh at Miami, Washington at home, and then Houston at home before the biggie on Sunday Night Football at the Chiefs. The Bills need to start the year, I think, 3-1, possibly 4-0. You got 3 home games out of the chute. You're better than Pittsburgh. You're better than all these teams. You should be able to get after the quarterback big time in every spot. You should be able to create some turnovers. And I don't see any which way outside of Washington. Well, Pittsburgh's pass rush led by T.J. Watt and company. I could see them giving Josh Allen some trouble. But the Bills, and again, every year is different, but the Bills, know that defense and know everything that's going on. Should still offensively be able to put up points against anybody in this league. And I think that, you know what? It's one of those things. It's one of those things where the Bills, you look at the schedule and the days of, and we even did it last year to a degree. Oh man, you got the Chiefs. Ooh, we got the Titans. Isn't it crazy you have them back to back again this year? Oh man, that opponent. Ooh, that team's going to be tough. Ooh, how are they going to stay? Well, the tables are turned on that, right? Like you could go with the Bills and say, geez, you got to deal with the Titans. You got to deal with the Bucks. You got to do. Okay, you got to go and play in the Superdome. The Bills were one of the top 4 teams in the NFL last year. They're bringing back everybody, including the franchise quarterback. They're in a really, really good spot. Now, will it be difficult? Absolutely. Can the Bills win 12, 13 games again? Sure. There's 17 games this season. It's going to be hard, but you don't look at any team in the NFL, any of them, except maybe Kansas City to a degree. I think Tampa, again, they're going to have the target on their back last year. All the rest, when's it finally run out for Tom Brady? Really, the only team for me that really, really strikes fear is Kansas City. And if you had to play them just because always they're a pain in the butt, Baltimore. The Bills beat them in the playoffs last year. I think the Colts are going to be really good. The Bills have them on the schedule. We'll get to that in a minute. But, this schedule is really good. It's, I think, when you look at the mix of 1 o'clock games, easier competition, harder competition, prime time, you got it all in this schedule, right? But I think right out of the gate, I think you got Pittsburgh, Miami, at Miami, Washington, and Houston. 3 of the first 4 games are at home. It's going to be crazy. The Bills are going to want to get out to a really, really great start. It's an opportunity before you hit prime time, before you hit 2 Super Bowl contenders in Kansas City and Tennessee, both on the road, right? You think about that in October. And that's, by the way, before a Week 7 bye, which is very early, which that's one part of the schedule I don't like. I wish Buffalo had like a Week 9 or 10 bye. But neither here nor there. You can get done with the back-to-back prime timers, and you got 4 straight 1 o'clock games again, right? Chiefs, Titans, before 2 road games, 2 contenders, 2 primetime games. Start the year 3-1, 4-0. Right? Because for me, if they could go 4-0 and then split with KC and Tennessee and go into Miami at home, should be a win, at Jacksonville, at the Jets, the Colts at home, all of those, for the most part, even though all those teams are going to be vastly improved, especially I think the Colts, Jets, and Dolphins, I think the Jags, I think Trevor Lawrence can instantly come in and give them some major playing time. And, I think Jacksonville is relevant again. You got Urban Meyer, you got Travis Etienne there, you've got Trevor Lawrence. They kind of matter again, and that was the key. That was what ownership wanted to do, not just getting Trevor Lawrence, a generational type guy, but making that big splash with Urban Meyer. I don't know if he will work in the NFL. If I had to guess, I would say no, because I think he's going to have a hard time losing. I think they're going to lose in the first year. It's going to be a lot of growing pains. The Bills should still win that game. They should win all 4 of those. Now, they won a bunch of games in a row last year. It's easy to say, well, they're better than all those teams, so win them all. They're going to win, loss, loss, win, loss. And I hate doing that on an NFL schedule because so many things can change. Teams can get better and worse and injuries and all the stuff in between. But there is a very, very realistic situation that by Thanksgiving, right, this team will have played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games. Right? 8-2. Could they go 9-1? They could. It'd be hard. But I'm looking at Thanksgiving as being 8-2. Now maybe you slip up and lose a home game against the Dolphins, but then you go on the road and beat Tennessee. Hell, maybe you beat Kansas City and Tennessee at home on the road and you lose a late game to a field goal or something like that to the Colts, or the Jets knock you off or something like that. Either way I look at it, if they're 8-2 on Thanksgiving, I think things are going to be pointing really, really in the right direction. Kansas City is going to be really good again this year. I mean, their offensive line last year, it was decimated. They had the injuries. They were missing some major pieces, including Eric Fisher. In that Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes was running for his life. I actually thought Mahomes played fairly well considering how much he was chased. But when you think about this, with how good Brett Veach is a general manager, last year and the year before, he's actually better now because look what he's done. You trade for Orlando Brown. You go get Joe Thuney. They revamp their entire O-line. It's going to be better. And they bring back all the pieces except pretty much Sammy Watkins. I mean, they're going to be unbelievable. They're the favorites, obviously, in the AFC again. There's no doubt. But I think if you can go 4-0 to start the year, 3-1 at worst, split those 2 games with the Chiefs and Titans, perhaps. You're in that 5-1 territory. You get the bye. Then you have 4 straight 1 o'clock games. 11th game of the year, you play against the Saints. No Drew Brees. Still going to be a really tough game. Road game. Well coached. Thanksgiving, primetime, pressure. Then you come home for primetime against the Pats. That's an 8:15 Monday nighter. Then you got the Sunday game late in the day, 4:25 CBS. That'll be an amazing, amazing, amazing game with the Bills and the Bucks. And, of course, that'll be a Nance Romo game. And then you've got a TBA situation for Carolina on it might be a Sunday or Saturday or Sunday, depending on flexes and all the rest. But Carolina comes up. We'll know a lot about Carolina's future as well at that point, right, with Matt Rule and company, and how is Sam Darnold there, and is he going to be the guy of the future? Then the Bills go at New England, Atlanta at home, Jets at home, and those are all 1 o'clock games to round it out. The Bills, I think, have good stretches of 1 o'clock games in the exact right spots, beginning, middle, and end. You hope, I think, when you close the year that none of those games will get flexed. I think the Falcons should be decent this year, but we don't know what that new, regime and the head coach and Arthur Smith and all the rest. They got Kyle Pitts in the draft, and obviously, we're looking at possible fire sale if they start out really, really bad. That could be a Falcon team that really doesn't have any pieces. Besides Pitts by week 17, who knows? Or they could completely, surprise many of us, right? And we know Julio Jones, as I record this, he wants out. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But I think this schedule is really, I think it's favorable. It's a great blend of all the things I talked about earlier. And one thing that you have to love if you're a Bills fan, you have to love, the Bills don't get any team, right? They don't get any team coming off of a bye week. In other words, 2 weeks of full rest leading up to the Bills. 2 weeks of full preparing before their game with the Buffalo Bills. I have that at all. That's a great thing for the Bills. That means that there's going to be a lot of games where teams don't have the extra prep, and I think you have, a lot more to work with there. Teams coming off of, bye weeks and all that. It's really, that there is something that goes into that. Really. And, for Buffalo, you hope this year because, the coronavirus, we're hopefully is, behind us, and all the things that went into it are behind us. I know that there will be questions. There will be players challenging, whether they are going to get vaccinated or not. There's going to be some things inside the walls that are going to be a little bit challenging. But as far as the day-to-day operations, it should be all systems go by the time September rolls around. We should be at 100%. There is no excuse, okay? There is no excuse at the very latest on July 1st why we aren't at 100% capacity for everything. The numbers are dwindling down to basically just helter-skelter percentages. Most people are full bore back open in most states. Sporting events have brought back people. Look at, the Bruins, Islanders atmosphere has been insane. The Stanley Cup playoffs, the atmospheres, they are kind of a little, on another level. Carolina and Boston, those home games are just, they're unbelievable. And all you can think of is, oh my God, the NFL. If you're a football fan, I love hockey. The Stanley Cup playoffs are my favorite playoff no matter what. The Sabres are so bad, and it doesn't even matter for me because I'm glued to them. I watch I barely turn on it. I don't watch the NBA. I refuse to. And Major League Baseball is okay. I've lost a lot of interest. I'm sick of the analytics. Too many walks, home runs, and strikeouts. Stanley Cup playoffs, I'm glued to every single night. And I keep thinking, oh my goodness, listen to this atmosphere. Can you imagine Bill's Mafia when they all come back? So pretty awesome, But we should be back all the way. Teams want to run training camps. Fans should be allowed, right? Proof of vaccination. Here it is. Here's my card. I'm vaccinated. Boom, I got my 2 shots. Let's go, man. Open up the bathrooms, open up this, open up that. Let's go. We can start shaking people's hands again and hugging people again and, limiting the Zoom, and starting to go out to lunch together again and meet face-to-face with each other. It should be all systems go in the NFL. Same thing. Same thing with this league. Same thing with the day-to-day, football operations and all the rest. Same thing in the facilities, right? Every day back to normal. Let's go. Before I sign off, Field Yates, the fantastic NFL insider for ESPN, had tweeted out that the Bills converted $11,718,333 of Stephon Diggs' base salary into a signing bonus, which creates just over $7.8 million in 2021 cap space. That's a good chunk of cap space for Buffalo to work with as the season draws closer. There are guys, the Bills want to work with in bringing people in, on a low budget. The first thing I think of, and this is a great deal for all parties involved because, Diggs gets that splash of bonus money all at once. It's enticing. The Bills save a lot of money. Diggs is buying in to obviously everything that they're doing. This also, if they're agreeing like this, if they're agreeing on something like this quickly, this easily, I think that really bodes well down the road for when they have to start to restructure some of Diggs' other, years on the contract, right? And we know Diggs is the key piece of the offense in terms of, just right after Allen because, look at what the offense did last year by adding Stephon Diggs, right? If they didn't have Stephon Diggs, Allen probably still would have put up pretty good numbers, but they wouldn't have done what they did without Diggs. I mean, Diggs was the key pickup, whether it was free agency or trade or draft or whatever. He was the key piece in the NFL, in my opinion. Him going to Buffalo, the way the offense changed, etc. His chemistry with Josh Allen on an immediate basis was huge. It was huge. But this is a big deal because the first thing I think of is Zach Ertz. I think of a player like Zach Ertz. I would have loved to have seen the Bills sign Hunter Henry. And I know Henry, he was a little expensive. He's on the Pats now, I get it. But I think he would have been an unbelievable fit in Dable's offense. Security blanket plus a red zone target. I think he would have. I think he would have had a career year in Buffalo. Just great place to be. But you know what? The Bills, they seem to be, for the most part, pretty happy with Dawson Knox and having some confidence in him. But if you get Ertz, obviously it just adds to the entire depth. It improves the position immensely. His value, I've read multiple reports, but his cap value, his cap cost, I should say, is in that $7.5 million type range. And I hear a lot of people get so dramatic about the salary cap, by the way. And yeah, is it there? Sure. Is it something to look at if you're paying your quarterback $35-40 million? Sure. But you can always find, whether you like it or not, you can always find, you can always find money somewhere. I mean, you all you have to do is cut somebody, right? It's like, oh, what are we going to do if we need another $8 million to sign so-and-so? And it goes for any team, But who cares? He cut people. Now, what I will say is it's obviously not, it's really not productive. Let's use the Bills as the example because it is, after all, Bills podcast. If you really wanted J.J. Watt, the Bills could have broken the bank to get J.J. Watt. I'm glad they didn't. But let's say that they did do that. They could have done it. They could have pulled it off. People are like, oh, you can't bring in one. It's way too much against the cap. You couldn't have done it. They could have done it. But then you got to cut Mario Edison. And then you got to cut somebody else. And then you got to cut somebody else. And possibly, if you don't cut 2 or 3 people, you cut one, and then you can't bring back Feliciano or Williams or Milano. So kind of, 2 darts thrown at you there in that situation. I'm really, 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 really pumped that the Bills are bringing back everybody. I think it's awesome. I love cohesion. I love chemistry. I love, this group riding it together. I love the fact that they're all bought in. And, the Stephon Diggs news coming that I just mentioned, it just fits right into that puzzle. But the salary cap, I guess, to a degree, is a little overrated because you can always make room. You can always cut people. The problem is if, you make those cuts and you're not really, it doesn't fit your team. It doesn't help your team. You want to bring somebody in, but then you can do it, but but we got to part with these guys. So is it worth it? And then you got to come in the middle somewhere. You got to figure that out. So I'm super pumped for the season. I love the schedule. I really do. I think it's going to be a fun year. I got the Bills about 11, 12 win team this year. I think they take a little bit of a step back in the win column. I don't think they're going to win 13 again, 13-4. Remember, it's a 17-game schedule. I don't see that happening 13 again. It could happen. It could. But I don't see it. I think they'll win the division. But I think they're going to have a lot of people coming at them. Dolphins better. Jets better. Colts better. Right? AFC across the board. A powerhouse. The Chiefs are the favorites. Ravens are there. Ravens made great moves in the offseason, as did Casey. Tennessee's going to be super tough. Chargers are going to be immensely better. And some of those teams I mentioned aren't on the Bills' schedule, but they're contenders for wild cards and division championships. So fun times ahead. Steelers at Dolphins, Washington football team, Houston, at KC, at Tennessee, bye. Miami, at Jacksonville, at New York Jets, Indianapolis Colts, at the Saints, Patriots at home, at the Bucks, Panthers, at Pats, Falcons, and New York Jets. That is your 2021 Buffalo Bills schedule. I'm Mike Lindsley. You've been listening to the Bills Brawl. Thanks so much, Bills Mafia. Make sure you follow us across the board at Mike L Sports, at Bills Brawl, and at Network Brawl, all a part of the Brawl Network. And as I always tell you, enjoy the games.